This is the Momentum Podcast.
So it has been a long time since I've done a podcast like this. I'm actually in my car at my kids' school waiting for them to get picked up. So you might hear my dog Cleo in the background. I just went out to my land and did some hiking. Did not very much shooting because I forgot ear protection, but it would have been a lot of fun to cycle through a few rounds. I did shoot like 4 or 5, even though I didn't have ear protection, but I didn't want to go past that. And I'm just sitting here thinking about, this interesting thing that happened to me a few years ago. So if you've known me for a while, you might know that I have this obsession with drinking water. I discovered a while ago in my own life that I had been chronically dehydrated and that I was suffering from a whole host of crazy physiological and even psychological symptoms from not drinking enough water. I found out that, I had inflammation in my body. I had some digestive issues that were going on. I was taking the purple pill to deal with a lot of the things that were happening in my digestion. It was tragic. It was horrible. And it was a period of time where I did not really feel great about myself, and I really didn't feel great in my body. And I started doing a ton of research on water, and I started doing a ton of research on the symptoms that I had, and what I found was that a lot of the symptoms that I had were the symptoms of dehydration.
I'm Alex Sharfin, and this is the Momentum Podcast, made for empire builders, game changers, trailblazers, shot takers, record breakers, world makers, and creators of all kinds. Those among us who can't turn it off and don't know why anyone would want to. We challenge complacency, destroy apathy, and we are obsessed with creating momentum so we can roll over bureaucracy and make our greatest contribution. Sure, we pay attention to their rules, but only so that we can bend them, break them, then rewrite them around our own will. We don't accept our destiny, we define it. We don't understand defeat because you only lose if you stop, and we don't know how. While the rest of the world strives for average and clings desperately to the status quo, we are the minority, the few, who are willing to hallucinate there could be a better future, and instead of just daydreaming of what could be, we endure the vulnerability and exposure it takes to make it real. We are the evolutionary hunters, clearly the most important people in the world, because entrepreneurs are the only source of consistent, positive human evolution, and we always will be.
I remember at one point I even compared the symptoms of the top 20 prescription drugs in the United States to the symptoms of dehydration, and you can go check this out for yourself. They're identical. Dehydration causes things like digestive issues, inflammation, chronic pain, confusion, frustration, anxiety, depression, all types of psychological issues. And that was a lot of what I had going on. And so I started getting obsessed on figuring out how to drink more water. And I did what a lot of people do. I carried the gallon of water around, and I committed to drinking water, and I wrote down every time that I did, and I did all these different things. And you know what? It didn't work. I would forget to drink. It still had the same thing happen to me over and over again, where I'd get up in the morning, go about my day, look up at 4:30 in the afternoon, and think, holy crap, I didn't have any water today, and it was horrible. And I had these symptoms that just continued. And so that's my daughter getting in the car. Like I said, there might be some noise. So I did more research on, when I say did research, I'll just share with you. I'm one of those really unique people that when I go down a rabbit hole on something, the rabbit hole can't get deep enough. And sometimes it's just a lot of research. I think I was on water for a number of years. In my spare time, I was reading about water. I was reading articles about water. I read books. People have actually written books about water. I read the book, The Hidden Magic of Water. I read about, in ancient, I guess in ancient Asia, thousands of years ago, water was seen as a ritual item. It was seen as a medicine. It was used in healing, and not just in Asia. In Latin America, same thing. There was gods of water. I went deep. And here's what I found, with looking at so much research that it's hard to quantify, is I started learning that the instinct of the human body to drink water is a really subtle instinct. We can turn off the instinct to drink water. Just how when you walk into a room and it smells terrible, after a couple minutes you don't smell that smell anymore. It's our body attenuates to any of those feelings and sensations that we're feeling, because our body's meant to survive. And so if you walked into a room and the smell was distracting and you were in a fight or flight, life or death situation, that could kill you. And so our bodies are meant to show us something, then turn it off, just like a smell. Well, same thing with a thirst instinct. Our bodies will tell us, hey, you're thirsty. And if we don't drink, your body doesn't keep screaming for water because you can survive for a long time without it. Now, if you look at oxygen, if you try to hold your breath, your body will let you know pretty quick you need oxygen, and it will keep screaming for it until you give it oxygen. But the thirst instinct is far more subtle than that. And so what I started recognizing and realizing was that there had to be a way to wake up our natural thirst instinct. And I came up with this challenge years ago. I can't remember how long. It was probably 7 or 8 years ago, called the Natural Thirst Challenge. And I wanted to show people how to get their natural thirst back, like how to drink enough water. And I started using it when I was coaching entrepreneurs. And I'll tell you the protocol in just a minute. But I started using it when I was coaching entrepreneurs. I'd show them how to drink water. And you know what? Those entrepreneurs would show up way better. I remember back when I was younger, I used to be a consultant. I would take people out with me in cars, and we'd be driving around all day, and they'd be dehydrated. And I'd realize if they were dehydrated, things would not go well. If they were hydrated, things went really well. So I would start giving them, I'd show them how to drink water. And it was something that I shared at events, and I would go out and speak. And I got onto a whole bunch of health podcasts and physiology podcasts to share about water and circadian rhythm, another thing that I went really deep on. And if you're a biohacker, water may be one of the most overlooked supplements for biohacking that we have out there. And so I put together this funnel, in the world of ClickFunnels and funnels. This was before ClickFunnels. I put together a funnel called the 10-Day Natural Thirst Challenge, and it's at getthirstynow.com. And if you go there, I want you to know we're in the process of updating the whole thing, but the experience is there. And I shared with people the protocol, and here it is. If you want to drink water, more water than you ever thought possible naturally, and get as much water as your body needs, here's what you do. There's 3 things. Number 1, you give up drinking anything but water for 10 days. You eat like you normally do. You might find this makes you want to eat healthier, but for 10 days, you just drink water. You can put minerals in it. You can put some salt in it. You can put some lemon in it, whatever your preference is. I actually suggest that you do one of those things. And then so get up in the morning, have 16 ounces or more of water. We call that a hyperhydration. And so you hyperhydrate, then you drink nothing but water. Then the second thing is you keep water with you all day. Proximity to water is critical because if we don't have water near us, the thirst instinct says, hey, you're thirsty, but there's not water here. And so it just goes away. And then the third thing is if you think about water, that's your body telling you you need to drink. So if you think, drink. Now, let me make it clear. This is not a drinking contest. Drinking contest, trying to drink tons of water can actually make you feel kind of high. There's a condition called hyponatremia where there's not enough salt in the blood for us to survive. You do not want to push yourself there. However, I've been working with thousands of people on this exact topic I've worked with, through my funnel, through Q&As, through events that I've spoken at. I've maybe not worked with, but I've shared this with tens of thousands of people. If I count all the events where I've mentioned it and all the podcasts where I've mentioned it and how many people have gone through the funnel, I think it's over 10,000 people. And people have come back to me and told me incredible things like, I didn't realize how dehydrated I was. Now I'm naturally drinking a couple 100 ounces of water a day, or as many as 300, 350 ounces. Normally it regulates after a while, but when you first start drinking, your body is going to want a lot more water than you will be shocked at how much water you're taking on. And people have told me, here's some of the results people have gotten. They've gotten over the symptoms of chronic issues like Crohn's and colitis and IBS and stomach issues. They've gotten off of antidepressants and psychoactive drugs, which every time somebody gets off of those types of drugs, it's like this huge win for me because the side effect profile of those drugs is crazy, and it's a lot to deal with. I understand some people really feel like they need them and some people feel benefit from them, but man, if you can do it naturally, I think there's a huge benefit to being able to do that. People have told me they've dropped tons of weight, like 3-4 days into the Natural Thirst Challenge, they'll drop like 6 pounds. You know what that is? That's inflammation leaving the body. And it's like just this incredible thing. People have told me they've even lost body fat. And the body will hold on to body fat if you're in a fight or flight situation. It'll hold on to calories. It doesn't matter what form those calories are in. And it will hold on to fat because fat is that's a food reserve. It's a very dense form of calories. It'll actually sometimes hold on to fat over muscle. So some people, when they're in prolonged fight or flight, their bodies will lose muscle and keep fat. And sometimes if you're dehydrated for a long time, you fool your body into thinking you're in prolonged fight or flight. And so people have derived massive benefits from it. I feel like I've helped, hundreds, if not thousands of people. Some of the stories I've gotten, we had a woman named Kim who was a receptionist in one of our offices, kind of the office manager. Sweet, just amazing woman. Single mom. I loved hanging out with Kim. And she started doing the Natural Thirst Challenge, and she lost 90 pounds, 90 pounds. And she was diabetic, and she went from using 3 vials of insulin a month to a half a vial of insulin a month. Like, just incredible. And it's funny, I haven't really talked about this for a long time. I haven't shared it as much. I haven't put it out there as much, because a few years ago, maybe a couple years ago, not a few years ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, I had this member in one of my programs who said, like, hey, Alex, that Natural Thirst Challenge, how much money has it made you? And I remember telling him, I don't know. I have no idea. I think, thousands of people have taken it. And I know a lot of people who are in our programs got introduced to the Natural Thirst Challenge maybe by somebody. And so they've taken it. And when I ask at our events, how many of you have been through the Natural Thirst Challenge? Tons of hands go up. So I think we've made money off of it. And I remember him saying, wow, man, like, what a waste of time. You had this really cool concept, and you didn't track it all the way through to the end. Put metrics all around it. Like, why'd you even make that funnel in the first place? And I remember, kind of embarrassed, telling him, well, dude, I thought I could help people. I realized there was all this terrible stuff in my life that was caused by being dehydrated. And ever since I've corrected that, for the most part, I still have days where I slip, and I have days where I'll think, wow, why am I having so many spinning, racy, negative thoughts, or why am I not feeling well today, or why am I so exhausted and drained? And a lot of times it's because I didn't drink water. So it's certainly not something I have perfect, but man, completely changed my life, and I wanted to help people. And I remember him looking at me and thinking, dude, you may be the only person I know who has a funnel with over 10,000 people through it just to help people. And then he kind of snickered and laughed. And I just, in the past few weeks, as Eddie on my team and I have been looking at the Natural Thirst funnel, and we're going to update it, and we're going to make sure that at the end, there's some type of a path to do more with us. We're going to use it as an introduction to the momentum planning system, which is life-changing. It's just in the past few weeks that I've actually reconciled the fact that I think one of the reasons I don't talk about it anymore is because I felt like shame in that conversation. How crazy is it that as an entrepreneur, I felt shame for not making something make me money and instead just going out and trying to help people? And so I've got a message for you. If you're an entrepreneur who's got a message that helps people, if you have learned something that you want to go share with people and you feel like it's going to change their lives, and if you are one of those people who have figured something out like me, you go down rabbit holes and you're passionate about something, you know what, just go share it. Go share it everywhere. Go tell people about it. Because the reality is, when we look at our membership, so many people have come to us after following the protocol in the Natural Thirst Challenge and having their lives changed. And they're like, if they can change this issue with water that I've never been able to drink enough of, what can they do for my business? And so many people have come up to me at events and said, hey, I just want you to know you changed my life, or you changed my son's life, or you changed my mom's life, because they didn't realize how I didn't realize, he didn't realize, she didn't realize how dehydrated she was. And once she started drinking more water, these are all the things that have changed. You know what? I mean, this may sound like sacrilege to some of those hardcore marketers that listen to my podcast, so I'm sorry. But sometimes it can just be about helping people and changing lives and making the world a better place and having that energy come back to you in some other way. And, in that same time, I've made millions of dollars, maybe tens of millions of dollars. My wife and I have had a year where the investments and the wealth that we have went up by multiple $1 million in 1 year without us doing anything. And in that time, I've had a ton of fun, and I've gone out and done incredible things, and I've been on amazing stages, and I've had incredible relationships and friendships. And so maybe, just maybe, Natural Thirst had something to do with it. I've been on some of the most intense podcasts. I've spoken on stages with people that I look up to like crazy, and I sat right there next to them because the people who ran the events knew how much I changed people's lives with this. And so it doesn't always have to just be about the money. It can also be about changing the world and making people's lives a better place. And if you're interested, my team and I are actually doing the 10-day natural thirst challenge right now. All of us together, we're on day 2, and I am sharing my experience, and a lot of other people are too, in our Facebook group. It's called Simple Operations. Operating your business just got simple. And before anybody says, what does drinking water have to do with operating your business? Well, you know what? Running a business with a team is one of the most difficult things any human being can choose to do. It requires vulnerability and exposure that most people simply can't handle. And if we are in our bodies and embodied, and we're drinking water and we're fully hydrated, and we know what we're doing, and we're present and aware, we can go through that journey in a much more effective and much more dynamic way. So join us. Join the group, Simple Operations, Operating Your Business Just Got Simple, and look for my Facebook Lives on the Water Challenge and check it out. And if you're interested in seeing the old funnel that we're going to update in the next few weeks, go to getthirstynow.com. It's getthirstynow.com, and you can check out the natural thirst funnel. And if you put in your information, you'll also end up on our email list, and we'll send you valuable information a couple times a week. Thanks for being here with me today. And remember, changing the world isn't only about money. Sometimes it's just by going out there and helping people.